Cinderella's Tale is a classic rags to royalty story that reminds people that dreams can come true even in the darkest times. We admire this princess for the quiet strength she possesses, for her patience, and the unshaken hope that inspires viewers of all ages to stay kind no matter what life throws at them. But did you know that this classic Disney tale has many versions worldwide? And if you think Disney holds the original piece, in this video I'm going to share with you the earliest version of Cinderella. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive and Reviews with Miss Jeyy, and today we are going to talk about Ye Xian, a Chinese folk tale written around 850 AD by Duan Chengxi during the Tang Dynasty of China. So basically the story goes like this. A long time ago, there was a cave chief named Wu on the south coast of China. He married two wives. One of the wives died after giving birth to a baby girl. The baby grew up to be a talented and beautiful young lady, and Chief Wu liked her very much and named her Ye Xian. But the father died, so Ye Xian was left to be raised by her stepmother. Unfortunately, her stepmother didn't like her because she was more beautiful than her own daughter. So they made her do all the housework and often mocked her. Ye Xian found a new friend. It was a fish with big golden eyes and red fins. She took care of it, and when it got bigger, she put it in a pond. The fish would greet her every day and became a good companion to her. Though it was not explicitly mentioned in the story, the fish was believed to be the reincarnation of her dead mother. When the stepmother found out about the fish, she hated the idea of Ye Xian being happy. So she devised a plan to kill the fish by sending Ye Xian to another place to get water. Then the stepmother dressed up like Ye Xian and imitated her voice to trick the fish. She stabbed it with a dagger. But that wasn't all. She cooked the fish and buried its bones deep with rubbish. When Ye Xian found out about what happened, she could only cry at the bank of the pond and mourn for her friend. Suddenly, an old man wearing the coarsest of clothes with hair hanging down over his shoulders flew down from the sky and landed by her side. He comforted her and told her the location of the fish's bones. He also told her that she could pray to the bones and they would grant her wishes. But Ye Xian should not be greedy, or she would be punished by God. Ye Xian followed the old man's advice and was careful in her prayers to the bones. Then came the cave festival. It was an important local festival where young people gathered in the village to meet one another and find husbands and wives. Ye Xian knew her stepmother wouldn't allow her to go. Also, she didn't have decent clothes. But when her stepmother and stepsister left, she prayed to the bones for a nice dress to wear to the festival. Suddenly, she was wearing a luxurious gown made of kingfisher feathers. On her feet were a pair of shining golden shoes which felt magically lighter than a feather and silent as they touched the stone floor. Sure enough, every young man circled around her because she was so beautiful. The women also wondered about her until the stepsister recognized her. Before things could escalate, Ye Xian fled and in her haste left behind one of her golden shoes. Upon reaching home, she quickly changed back into her rags and pretended to be asleep under a tree in the yard. This time, her stepmother and stepsister believed the mysterious girl at the festival couldn't possibly be Ye Xian. Meanwhile, a merchant found Ye Xian's lost shoe and sold it to the king of Tu Han. It was a strong kingdom made up of tens of islands covering thousands of miles. The king was fascinated by the delicate shoe and began to yearn for its owner. He ordered that the owner be found at once. But it was a difficult task, as every time a girl tried on the shoe, it would change size. The eager king called the merchant again to inquire about where the shoe had been found and learned it was somewhere near a mountain on the mainland. The king himself sailed to the mountain right away, but he was disappointed to find the place remote and poor. He couldn't believe the shoe's owner lived there. Still, he was determined, and eventually they found the gown that Ye Xian had worn to the festival in her bedside drawer. When Ye Xian was brought before the king, he was again disappointed to see a shabby girl, but he told her to change into the gown and put on the shoes. When she emerged, the king realized she was beautiful and indeed the girl who had worn the dress and the shoe. He knew she was the one for him. The stepmother and stepsister begged for forgiveness, and Ye Xian forgave them for their cruelty. The king took Ye Xian back to his kingdom, where they married and lived happily ever after. As you can see in this version, there is no fairy godmother, but we have a magical bone. Then the story is set in ancient China, predating all European versions by several centuries. And in terms of characters, we have Ye Xian, who is kind, hardworking, gentle, grateful, and forgiving. And throughout the story, she shows great empathy and love, especially in the way she cares deeply for the magical fish, treating it like a family. Despite the cruel treatment by her stepmother and stepsister, she never retaliates and endures her suffering silently, which shows her resilience. In the end, she forgives them, revealing her moral strength. And above all, she is hopeful and faithful. She believes in magic but never abuses it. She follows the warning not to be greedy. Then we have the stepmother, who is clearly a jealous, cruel, and deceptive woman. Her dislike for Ye Xian stems from insecurity and competition, leading her to hide Ye Xian's beauty and kill the fish. Her daughter, Ye Xian's stepsister, is vain, dismissive, and arrogant. It's sad that she mimics her mother's cruelty, showing how prejudice can be passed down. The magical old man is mysterious and wise, basically Ye Xian's spiritual guide. He represents justice from the heavens, teaching her humility and reverence. Then we have the king of Tuhan, a curious, persistent, and fair ruler. He initially doubts Ye Xian due to her poor appearance, but he overcomes his prejudice once her true identity is revealed. Ye Xian is considered the oldest known version of the Cinderella story, originating around 850 AD during China's Tang dynasty. This tale was recorded by Chinese scholar Duan Chengxi in his anthology Miscellaneous Morsels from Yuyang, which is a collection of strange and fantastical accounts. The story is deeply rooted in Chinese culture, reflecting Confucian values such as family devotion, obedience, and humility, along with Taoist elements like magical intervention and karmic justice. One of the most symbolic features is the fish Ye Xian befriends. It is believed to be the reincarnation of her deceased mother, showcasing traditional beliefs in ancestral spirits and animal symbolisms. Unlike the glass sleeper seen in European versions, Ye Xian's golden feather-light silent shoes serve as her unique identity marker. And instead of a royal ball, she attends a cave festival, which is a traditional community event when young people seek partners. This part of the story highlights cultural distinction in courtship. Some scholars believe this early version may have influenced Western Cinderella tales through Silk Road trade routes or oral storytelling traditions. But despite cultural differences, Ye Xian's tale shares many universal Cinderella tropes, just like an abused stepdaughter, magical assistance, a lost shoe, and an eventual royal marriage, even before the brothers Grimm recorded their versions. Notably, Ye Xian forgives her stepmother and stepsister, unlike the punishment seen in many later renditions, offering a more compassionate Eastern perspective. And rather than a fairy godmother, she's guided by a heaven-sent old man and the spirit of the magical fish, which illustrates the role of spiritual forces over fantasy beings in China's folklore. The story of Ye Xian carries timeless lessons that still resonates today. At its heart, it teaches that kindness, patience, and compassion will ultimately be rewarded as Ye Xian's goodness leads her to the happiness and justice. The tale also emphasizes the value of moderation and gratitude, as seen in the old man's warning. He reminds us not to be greedy and that abusing blessings can bring misfortunes. Jealousy, on the other hand, leads only to downfall, as shown by the stepmother and stepsister, whose envy gains them nothing. Another powerful message is that inner beauty matters more than outward status. Even though Ye Xian is initially dismissed, her true grace and virtue shine through. And lastly, the story celebrates the power of forgiveness as a form of strength. By choosing to forgive those who wronged her, Ye Xian not only rises above cruelty but also promotes healing and closure. Even though we humans are flawed, this story reminds us to strive to lead with kindness, even when it's hard, and even when life tests our patience. People may not always treat us fairly. Some can be mean and abusive, but like Yishan, choosing compassion over resentment allows us to rise with grace. At the same time, we are reminded to stay grounded and appreciate what we have, especially for young people surrounded by a toxic culture and social media. This timeless story reminds us not to let greed cloud our judgment, because chasing more than you need can definitely lead to regret. Remember, jealousy poisons the heart. Comparing your path to others will only rob you of peace. And most importantly, forgive, not because others always deserve it, but because you do. You deserve to free yourself from the weight of anger and grow beyond what hurt you. Anyway, that's all for today, and I hope you gained something from listening to this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Deep Dive and Reviews with Miss Jeyy so you can stay updated. Stay curious, stay critical, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!